Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody's had a good start to the week. We're here for another episode. Thanks very much to our sponsors, Budgeon, best car dealership in Shropshire. This week, we are going to talk about rejections. Now, the three of us have probably had numerous rejections.
How long is the podcast?
I'm not just talking from nightclubs or girls when we were younger, but rejections as a footballer. So I thought it'd be quite good to explore that. Just quickly, just let everybody a little insight, because if some people still aren't on YouTube, so some people won't know the setup that we've got now. But it's quite impressive, isn't it, Dave?
Very impressive. I feel sad for the people who aren't subscribed on YouTube. Is that good now?
Well, I don't feel
Missing
sad
out,
for them,
aren't
because
they?
they should have subscribed.
You two will look brilliant on YouTube with class. But me, however, with my camera.
We've got two amazing cameras, and one's pointing on me, one's pointing on Dave, and we've got one standard camera.
I don't even think it's on.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't even look like it looks like R2-D2.
It's one of those new cameras that nothing flashes or lights up.
I'm taking it as a compliment. It just means I don't need as much high definition, I'm assuming.
We've got a new setup as well. Just the three of us sort of sat on the same side, isn't it? It's a bit odd. I've got to keep turning my head.
I'm all right. I'm comfortable with it, but it's you, innit?
I feel like Alan Sugar on The Apprentice.
You look like him.
But yeah,
What, Gav's Karen Brady?
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
What's he called? The other fellow with the ball. Who's the fellow?
That's only Karen Brady. I didn't know what he's called.
Can't think of his name.
Anyone?
No.
Well, I did that.
We're good at researching, aren't
But also, we need a new table, don't we? Need a round table. We've explored that.
Yeah.
And what Gavin does is, I've got a chair with a wobbly leg. So every single time we do a podcast, Gav's just loosening off a little bit more, just waiting for the one episode where this gives way.
Just hoping you have
and I fall flat on my back.
a good week with the food and the drink, and then one day you'll just go through
It's
it.
worth subscribing on YouTube just to see the day where this chair gives way. I collapse. Hey, big news as well. Our podcast the other week, John Terry liked one of our videos, didn't he?
Yeah, on Twitter. I was kind of describing how good he was. And
You like that?
if anyone does that about me, I'd like that as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, I always, anybody says anything good about me, I always like it on social media.
Yeah.
I'm retweet.
And I retweet
I like to
it.
screenshot it and put it on my Instagram.
Yeah, I've done it both times. Right, let's crack on then. So everybody gets rejected as a footballer, and I think it's quite good to hear those stories about when that occurs, because I think it's very easy when you get rejected to think there's no other place to go, but rejection is part of football. I think, Dave, do you have anything when you were young? Or was you just like plain sailing from the beginning, a superstar?
No, not at all. I didn't play academy football, really. I think the first time I was really disappointed with something was I was playing for my local team, Worthing Juniors, and I felt like I was a good player. We had a really good team for a grassroots level, and we ended up playing Crewe, Alexandria, in a friendly, and Crewe, one of the best academies around at that point.
Yeah.
And I sort of got myself that worked up that I could possibly get into the academy. Almost convinced myself that I was going to be. I remember cleaning my boots; they were absolutely spotless. Even took the studs out and cleaned the bottom of my boots, and then put the studs back in, doing everything I could that might give me that little edge. And we went to their training ground and played a game, and just nothing afterwards. One of the other lads got in, which was amazing, but I was devastated. That's the first time I thought, maybe I'm not good enough. I thought I was at that level. But
How did you feel you played?
I'm not.
Do you remember?
Yeah, okay. I was probably only about 10, 11 at this point.
Oh, right,
so only young. But I remember that's the first time I really felt, I'm obviously not good enough. But then as I moved, as I got a little bit older, I had a trial at Wolves, and then I had a trial at Shrewsbury at the same time. And I wanted to sign for Shrewsbury at the time because it was my local team. I had a few mates play for Shrewsbury, and I was a Shrewsbury fan. So I went and signed for Shrewsbury, and I was there for about 18 months, but I was just never getting in the team. I was always on the bench.
Yeah.
So I was never really that involved. I felt like I was a bit of an afterthought. I remember going to see what would be the academy director now, and kind of said, I'm not enjoying it. Probably best if I go back to my grassroots team. Half want him to say, no, don't go. We think really highly of you. He was like, okay, then whatever's best for you. And I was gone. So that was sort of my two main things as a kid where I just thought, yeah, it's not going to be for me.
Do you think that stood you in good stead, though, in the future? you think it's good for the children to suffer rejection at some point?
It definitely builds character. I think for me personally, as a youngster, it's more pivotal that you enjoy your football. And I definitely wasn't enjoying it when I was in that system at the time, and went back to my mates and enjoyed it. When I was in year 11 in school, I went and sort of played pub football. Absolutely loved it before I got back in. But yeah, it does. It always builds resilience, doesn't it? And the first time it ever happens to you, it's not a nice thing, is it? And you never go over that. When you go further in life, whatever job you're in, whatever situation you're in life, when somebody says you're not good enough or anything like that, it's going to knock your confidence, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
It is, but I think it's an important part of building resilience. I mean, we'll come on to sort of job interviews as you get older anyway, and the fact that you might not get a job sometimes and how you handle that. But go on, Gav, what about when you were younger? Trials and stuff?
Yeah, I think I said to you before, like I sort of bounced around the local scene. So it's like Rejections from Ipswich, Arsenal, Leyton Orient, Colchester. You'd sort of bounce from club to club. But obviously there was, down south, especially around the London area, there's such a huge number of young lads trying to get into what is a lot of teams, don't get me wrong, but the ratio is just crazy. So you have to, back then it wasn't quite as it is now. And it was, if you weren't performing over a period of time, they could just tell you and you could go. And I think like you always felt like you were on the edge. So I think like for me going through academy football, I always felt like I was on the verge of either, you know, that next step or it could just be gone. And it was always made, it was a little bit of nervous energy all of the time. You know, I never felt like I could play free a lot of the time because you knew there was so much competition out there.
Did your enthusiasm ever waver? If you said you're going around different clubs and you're getting no's sort of from different ones and that, did it ever kind of stop you wanting it as much? Or
I think not in the early days, because actually I was quite lucky that although there was a lot of lads getting no's from them, I was quite lucky that I was perceived to be one of the better ones. And I suppose like for me, because I was sort of at that young age perceived as the best or one of the best ones in our area, I suppose it was later for me when I was sort of quite used to seeing the other lads get rejected. And, you know, when you get into that room and you get your name called and you have to walk down the corridor and you have to go and, like, you know, face your destiny, as it were, at that time. And then I suppose for me, the rejection came a little bit later, around 14, 15. And that was, I suppose that arguably could be harder for me because some of the other lads had that rejection and then moved on. Whereas for me, I'd sort of had it plain sailing for a little while and it was like I was the big dog. And then all of a sudden, I'd had my legs cut off and I was like, oh, I remember that being difficult.
That's the sort of point I'm getting, isn't it? You know, if you suffer a couple of rejections when you're younger or you don't get trials or you get released, you know, it stands you in good stead and you realise it's not the end. But if you've had nothing, you've been, I'm a superstar as a kid. Suddenly at 14, you're not good enough. That's quite late to get your first rejection. Yeah. And like, how would you feel then?
Yeah.
Horrendous.
Yeah, well, and as well, there's rejection in terms of obviously yourself and wanting to be good enough and your dream. Then it's obviously public humiliation. That's the key. That's the key, I think. That's the biggest thing. So then obviously you've got to go back to school and tell your mates, oh, you know, Arsenal, who like everybody loves me playing for. I'm not doing that anymore. I've been the Arsenal kid for years. Anybody want to play for and then
Arsenal.
You just go, yeah, it's all right. I'll probably I'm gonna have to sign for Chelsea or someone now. Do you know what I mean? Or like, oh God, I'll have to go and sign for someone like QPR. And then it's like, oh, the QPR scout hasn't called back. Do you know what I mean? So it's really different around our area than it is up north because
I was going to say that, London, we got so many clubs.
Yeah, it's so different.
Very different from Shropshire,
so different.
where you've got Shrewsbury or nothing.
Yeah, having learnt the system up here is so, like, you look and it's so different from what it is down around.
I think all the kids bounce around, around the academy clubs. I mean, I think they do that a little bit here from my experience. Like, they go like the Wolves, West Brom.
Yeah. Maybe not by choice though. Like for us, there was definitely a lot of lads that there was like I don't know what I don't really remember why, but I remember at one point Orient were like in what would be the Championship now, Leyton Orient, and they were really popular around our area. And it was the coaching, it was the way they did things, it was the manner, the way the club was perceived at the time. So everybody was a little bit like, oh well, you know, so and so's the coach over there. And there was a brilliant coach called Harry Huckstep. I'll never forget him. And he was just like proper old school East End Londoner. But was like, he would be one of them that was quite old school, but then he would be, if he gave you a bit of praise, you would feel on top of the world. And I just remember being in the car and I had the window down and he was telling my mum and he was giving me loads of high praise and, you know, just that feeling of having this high praise. And then literally 6 months later, I don't think he was there anymore and I was gone. And it was like, the high and the low of having that high praise from someone you hold in such high esteem to then being told, look, obviously you're at that age now, like, and then going, oh right, well I'm going to go over and play over there anyway, and you never really knew where you were. You couldn't really get an identity. I remember at that time, Ledley King was at Leyton Orient and Nicky Shorey and players like that.
Age, are they?
Yeah, they were my age. So we all sort of played, and I travelled into London. Me and my cousin played there, and we travelled into London and did the training. I think it was on a Wednesday night. It was a proper trek in the traffic, trying to get to the other side of London, and yeah, just very different from what it is. But the Rejections, like, remember them well.
And I think a big thing you say, it's the humiliation. Like I had the same as you. I went and tried at Wimbledon, Everton, Newcastle, and like didn't get asked back. And then I had
that just going back to that. So Wimbledon. So you're obviously up from the northeast.
Newcastle, yeah. For some reason, Wimbledon,
and even Everton. How did that?
Yeah, they had scouts. They were the clubs that had scouts, so they would take us down there. So we went down on train to Wimbledon. Got us to go down. Everton, can't think.
This be when Wimbledon were in the Premier League. Early 90s.
Would have been, yeah. Would have been, yeah. Oh, even before then, it would have been, yeah, like 80s. And then like, you just obviously didn't want to sign you, and they'd come back, and like my mates would be like, "How do you get on?" I'd be like, "Yeah, they wanted to sign me, but it's the travelling, you know." Because that's a public humiliation. I got asked to play for. I got asked to go on trial for, you know, like you have your City Boys team, so Newcastle City Boys. So like I got like to the last 30, and they picked a squad of 18 when I was like, I don't know, 13 or something, and I didn't get in. Everybody was like, "Have you got in?" I was like, no. But what they've said to me is, "You'll definitely get in next year." I think by the time next year comes around, you're just hoping everybody's forgotten.
I did the same.
Like, now, like, kids now, and like anybody who's got kids will probably laugh at it because they'll realise, like, people don't get selected for stuff. There's always a reason, isn't there? It's never just, I didn't get picked. Yeah. There's always, I had a sore knee on the day, or they said, you're too good to play.
Yeah. You're probably too fast. Yeah. You're probably too good in the air.
It's hard, though. It's hard to own it when you're young. It's always for us now to laugh about that. But when you're a kid, like, I think of me boys, if you're like 14 or 13 and your identity is like is the best footballer, you can't just go, I didn't get picked because I don't think I'm good enough.
I had one... my mum and dad had basically said, because back then it was really common for the scouts to come around with cards. So we used to get like Man United, Liverpool, and like I was lucky because I used to get all these cards. So obviously when you get that younger, that's it. Yeah, I think we still got them.
You still got it in your book bag at school.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? Put it on the table. Oh, sorry, I just want the scouts to ask me to come and play for them on there.
What's that Man United thing? That's
sorry,
from the weekend.
Stop that. Sorry, girls, I just dropped that in the middle of all of you there.
When my mum and dad pulled me in, they went, just to let you know, Ajax have been on the phone. So I was like, Ajax? I was like, and they basically said, I think it was like a confidence boost, or they wanted me to feel good. So I don't know what was going on, but what they'd done is, as a bit of a treat for me and my cousins, they'd inquired about a soccer school in Ajax. But what they decided to say was, you're on trial at Ajax. So I've obviously gone into school. And I've gone into school going, I think they're probably going to pick us up off the field in a helicopter or something like that. I'm basically going on trial to Ajax. And I was absolutely convinced that this was the case.
How old are you at?
This is just like secondary school. So it's even worse because obviously, mum and dad had killed me. But
splitting up with your girlfriend.
Sorry.
I think,
But the lads,
they come and live in Holland.
The lads at school at first were like, nah, mate. I was like, no, seriously, lads. And they were like, you're being serious? It's like, honestly, we've had the call from Ajax and I'm going. So then it all fell through. And in terms of like this soccer school, and mum and dad had been trying to work out, you go on from Harwich on a boat, go across and all of the above.
Like the old school, like Bobby Charlton soccer school.
Yeah. So it was they were going to pay for me to go to soccer school, but they convinced me I was going on trial. So I've gone to the school and told this, and then my mum and dad had obviously told one of the other parents, it was going to be a soccer school. So they've told one of my mates who's then come into school, I got annihilated. But even to that day, I was going, no, it's not a soccer school. I'm going on trial. And then I'd go back to my mum and dad and go, was it a trial or a soccer school? And they're like, no, a trial. So they go back to school and they go, no, you're soccer school. And even to this day, my mates absolutely hammer me. They hammer me for it, hammer me. But I was convinced I was going to Ajax, which would have been good.
But it's so hard to take. But also, like I try and say to the boys now, you know, when it does you good, and just own it. Just own it because it's one person's opinion.
Yeah. But that comes with age, doesn't it? I can only go on like I suppose like a rejection. Like me coming away from Telford as a manager. It sounds like I'm doing it now. Like basically, they said I was like too good of a manager.
All right. I thought we'd got over that. Oh no. So Telford said you're too good.
They basically said, look, it's inevitable that you're going to be in the Premier League, so we're just going to let you go now. But that was like a really good mutual decision, like that we'd come to. but then obviously people just go, obviously got sacked from Telford. So
Your personal pride kicks in.
But my whole thing was just to go, but obviously because I'm older and because I've had all of them rejections and I've learned that you just got to own it, I was happy just to go, been sacked, like no problem, like whatever. But obviously as a kid, it was like, no, I'm going to Ajax on trial. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm the new Marco van Basten.
Sorry for you. That was horrible. I thought you
mate, it was when they're all like pointing and laughing and that, and your girlfriend dumps you. And
do you feel now though, for your, obviously we've all got young children, as an adult, it's looking at the kids now, it doesn't affect them as much as what we maybe thought it'd do when we was younger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if they get a little bit of a knockback, it's kind of hurts them for a couple of hours and then they're off doing other stuff. Do you know what I mean?
It probably does.
But you're a parent, so it kind of, you think about it completely differently.
I think it's maybe the other way a little bit. I think, like, I don't see like the kids see football differently through their eyes, don't they? And I think, like, for me, I can handle it. Like, if Wilson, for example, Harley stopped playing football now, he's 16 and doing different things, but Wilson's really, really keen and desperate to do well at football, and I want him to do well, but I say to him, you'll only ever get what you deserve, so you have to put the work in and etc. But actually sometimes if he is put on the bench, or if he is told, well, no, you need to conduct yourself better, or I actually quite like that, but he doesn't like that. He's, through his eyes, he's like, I just want to play football, and I believe I can play football for this team and that team, and I should be getting there. And I try and almost manage his expectation without killing his dreams. I'm obviously trying to go, look, you know, it's good. Sometimes it's good, and you need to learn from it. And I think he had a bit of an episode at training on the Friday. So his coach left him out on the Sunday, which is fine. Like, I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like, you know, if he's going to be like that, then that's how he has to deal with it.
It's like managing expectations, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
but my lad's a bit delusional. He's like, I'll play for Real Madrid, though. I'm like,
yeah.
You might do, but just in case you don't, it's important you try it at school. It doesn't matter. I'll take you over to Spain, Dad.
Well, that's what mine say, oh, Dad, if I'm no good, I'll just play for Shrewsbury. Boys, you've still got to be, like, you've still got to be pretty good, you know what I mean? It's like, and he used to say, or even that, if I'm absolutely rubbish, there's a bit of a Telford, and I'm like, right, if you're a bit of a Telford, you're going to be at a really good standard.
Yeah. I think like, but looking at Wilson the other week, like, when he came on, what was great, his reaction was brilliant, and he played really well, scored a really good goal and all of that. And afterwards, my conversation to him was, really love the fact that you didn't sulk because you were put on the bench. Then you came on and you did it in the right way. So it's just the lessons that you learn, isn't it? And like, as a kid, it's hard to see how it can benefit you down the line. But when you're older, you can go into, like, I go into the Brackley job, like, obviously desperate to do well, obviously giving everything that I've got, but knowing that football is precarious, isn't it? And it can go either way. So you just have to give everything that you've got.
Just getting the sack's inevitable.
Yeah.
That's maybe your Pep Guardiola.
Well, don't say it's inevitable, Sam. Like,
well,
do you know what I mean?
No, but you've just got a certain amount of time, haven't you?
Yeah.
Look at Middlesbrough. Michael Carrick's going to be the next Man United manager. Suddenly they lose the start of the season and don't win for 7 games. He's on the verge of getting sacked. Now they've just won 3 again. Oh, he's going to be the Man United manager again. It's football management is ridiculous, isn't it? You need like that. So as you got older, you become a professional. Rejections still happening, Dave? I mean, did you have many rejections as a professional?
I think because I started lower leagues and went up, I probably never really experienced the rejection. The only one rejection I feel like, I think the only one real rejection I had for not being good enough or perceived good enough was when I left Reading. I was training with the 23s there. A lot of it was a financial thing. They were just trying to get everyone out the door. But still, that was, you need to go and change on your own with 5 or 6 other lads that are trying to get rid of as well. Turn up to train, not part of the group, not being involved in match day squads. That's probably the most horrible one I had in terms of that, where I started questioning your own ability, and I was getting older then, so I was thinking, my leg's gone, all these sorts of things.
I don't think that's good management. Who was your manager at the time doing that? Was that Yap Stam?
No, so Yap Stam had gone, and then Paul Clement had come in, he'd gone, and they just hired you look at the kind of the mess Reds in at the moment, they were going through managers and the finances, they were terrible. It was a guy called Gomez, his surname was. He was only there like 3 or 4 weeks before I left, and he was just like, he came and he was like, he did kind of like say sorry. He said, sorry, you're going to be with the under-23s. I remember his first session, there was 25 of us training, did 11v11. I was on the side.
So it's really,
I've had that.
training
I've had
11v11 and you sub in the training
There was
match.
there was me and two other lads. There's three of us, and they kind of said, "Oh, just put a bib on. We'll get you on in a minute."
I had that. Horrendous.
What age are you as well, eh?
32.
That's hard. The take 32, isn't it? That's a test of you, though,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is,
That's when
mate.
you're getting.
That's when you're close to
when
throwing
getting
in.
older and you're thinking,
Another test.
I've gone, yeah.
But then I 100%. Like I was quite mature in that. I was 32, but the way I was thinking was still very positive. And I remember going down to 23s, but I thought, no, I'm going to show all these young lads that I'm still a proper player.
That doesn't
Still run
surprise
around
me
and
about
things
you,
like
though,
that.
Dave.
And it's more to prove in my own head, I think.
Yeah. Needed to do that.
But then in the under 23s, was that? Do you remember Michael? Well, you don't remember. He plays at Crystal Palace now. Michael Elise.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, mate. He was schooling me in training for the 23s.
I'm going to show these lads.
I've gone, yeah. The under 23s are on with me. I've gone. I'm finished. I'm hanging me boots up.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
But that doesn't surprise me about you, though, Dave. Like, you're put in that position and you're still going to show the best account of yourself. You're still going to show the best version of you.
Yeah, in my head, it was the 23s manager was like a real respectable guy. And I knew the young lads were all going to have careers. So they're always going to speak about you in some sort of light. If anyone ever says, oh,
Yeah, of course,
Dave
yeah.
Edwards, whatever, say, oh, yeah, he's a good pro, works hard, all that sort of stuff.
So
Handles himself well.
So what is it then? Is it the public humiliation, or like internally at Reading was when you're looking at other players and they're going, oh, he's Welsh international, played hundreds of games in the Premier League, and now he's training with the 23s. Did it get in your head that they would all be going, oh, flipping, he's done, he's gone, or did that get your ego
Not
stirred?
because of the situation it was in. It wasn't too bad. It was just more you just do not feel part of anything. You're turning up
That's
and
what it is.
you
Stop-
feel for
stop
lads.
being in the tribe, is it?
I saw it happen loads at Wolves when we were kind of going through different periods and they would try and ostracise lads completely. And until it happens to yourself, you don't appreciate how hard it is.
And that's why, it's been part of it, isn't it? It's like everybody that's great. You see the subs on the sideline or the reserves when the team scores and they're all celebrating. Of course you're celebrating, but a little bit of you as well. You're like, I'm not part of it.
Yeah.
You don't feel the same.
Oh,
do you?
definitely not.
If you're in the reserves, you're not in the first team. You're not part of it.
Same when
not
you're
in the
same when
gang.
you're injured on the
Same when you're
bench.
injured. You don't feel the same.
Not just you want to be a good team player. It's
Yeah. And it's probably a good thing if the team are successful a little bit, but if they're too successful and you're not in the team, you're not getting in. If I'm left wing and the left wing is ripping it up and scored 2, I'm sitting there going, oh, hey, well played, I'm really pleased for me, mate. I think, no, I'm not playing for the next 4 weeks.
I always felt like when I was injured, because there was an excuse, it wasn't as bad. Like, obviously you'd think, oh God, I've got to get back in. But it was worse when you were fit, ready and able.
That's the worst
and you
thing,
weren't
yeah.
in, that's just horrendous.
if you're injured, I always feel like when you're injured, you become a better player because people
absolutely.
understand why you're not playing. And the difference that you could possibly make. So you always felt like that elevated everyone's opinion of you. But say when you're fit and you're not selected,
I used to get more
not
songs.
coming on.
I used to get more songs about me warming up. So when I was warming up for Shrewsbury, the whole ground was singing Super Sammy Yes. Now when I come on, there's like I play 20 minutes, stop booing. No, but you are a better player when you're enjoying it. It's like, oh, we're missing it. When you're playing all the time, you get criticism.
Yeah, it's same as a manager, isn't it? You when you're a manager, if you're not winning every single game and winning it by 5-0, you are just getting absolutely hammered, aren't you?
Yeah.
As you got older then, Gav, do you have any
Oh,
rejections?
flipping it! How long's the list? It's funny, really. When I come out of Exeter, when I left Exeter, I went into non-league, and then coming back out to Shrewsbury. That's where, if you're ever going to sort of see or challenge yourself on how resilient you were, and going into non-league, I remember I went to Braintree Town, funny enough, and I went there.
What age is this?
Probably 1920, and I was like, I'm not bothered. But then there was a guy there called Simon Milton. Incredible guy who's like played for Ipswich for like 10 years in the Premier League, but he was like he had a role at Ipswich still, but then he was playing for Braintree Town, and he was like, why don't you come? I was sort of training at Ipswich, and he's like, why don't you come over to Braintree? And I remember walking out, didn't know anyone, literally strolled out, and they're on the pitch training, and I got involved and thought, these are crap, flipping hell, this is a walk in the park, I'll play for these. If they're going to give me a couple of £100, I'll take this. Because honestly, I was like, I'd felt like hard done by and all of the above. So, you're in that lull of like, am I passionate about it anymore? And then did really well. And then Simon Milton called me. He was like, didn't you fancy it last night then? I was like, what are you on about? He's like, I went, where were you? He was like, I was at training. I went, no, you weren't. I was there. And he went, you definitely weren't. And the first team were training on the training pitch outside, but the reserves were training on the pitch. So when I was walking around going, these are shit, because they were the reserves. So I'm there in the evening, and this is Mel, lovely guy. He's not with us anymore, unfortunately. I think it was Alf, the other guy, brilliant people. And he's like, can you sign here? And I was like, yeah, no problem. So for that night, I signed for the reserves, thinking I was signing for the first team. And then I played I scored 18 goals in about 10 games for the reserves. And they kept saying, oh, come and play for the first team. I was like, I'm not bothered, I'm not really asked. And then in the end, the first team, and then I got bought by Canvey, and Canvey got bought on from there. But obviously went back into the league. And that was when I was just like, right, okay, well, maybe we're on the up again then, and maybe I'm kicking the backside out of it, and then you start playing for the England non-league side, and then it all starts to go up again, and then obviously got to Shrewsbury, and then start doing really well. God, flipping heck, I'm going to proper hit the ground running, and then that's when it all starts to come back down again. And yeah, it's just so many highs and lows. It's crazy. Loads of rejections in as I was older. Loads.
It's a roller coaster always, football, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just give the listeners a little bit of an insight. So yeah, especially, I mean, it was for me. I mean, I signed 3 years at Shrewsbury, then at Sunderland, then 2 years at Sunderland, then 3 years at Shrewsbury, then 2 years at Shrewsbury. So I had long contracts. But then after that, it was like the year contracts. I did 1 year, 2 year, 1 year, 1 year. And that's what's hard, because you're coming towards the end of your contract. And you normally know, don't you? You know what's going to happen. So I think then you sometimes get called into the office or whatever it is. So I just think in the Shrewsbury, when I sort of first got released really from Gary Peters, I remember there was loads of us, and he was having a big clear out at Shrewsbury. I remember Gary Peters, because I don't know how we got on that season, but I don't think we'd done amazingly well. It must have been League Two, I would have thought. And I heard Martin O'Connor said to me, I've spoke to one of Gary Peters' mates, and he said he's getting rid of everybody. So I heard this, and this was about February or something. Yeah. So I was like, okay. Well, I said, if that's the case, we need to know, I want to know that. I remember going to see Gary Peters, and he was like, I haven't made any decisions yet. I thought,
one.
Yeah. And I remember when I did go and speak to him, probably I think he was calling everybody in, but I'd already sort of had a feeling that lots of us weren't getting contracts.
When you were kicking it behind the goal all the time.
so I remember going in to see, Gary. I remember going in to see Gary, and he was like a smashing lad, and he was like chatting away. We had like loads of banter, and I was like, Gaffer, just come on, let's just cut to the chase. And he went, look, there's nothing for you. I'm just going a new direction and that. And I was like, right. But he was going, hey, but what a great lad and stuff. He was like, smashing lad you are, Sam. I'd love to go for a pint with you sometime. And I was like, I won't be able to go for a pint with you because I haven't got a club, so I've got no money to you. but that was fine. So I remember we left. But I think there's a couple of, what used to happen was you'd get to the end of the season, and if you hadn't got something sorted, you'd go into the summer. I don't know whether you'd experienced this.
Yeah, I did. Dave.
You probably did, Gav. Yeah. So you'd be out of contract in the summer. So you finish in May, and then you're just waiting to see if the phone rings. So I remember being up in Newcastle, stopping with my mate a few times, and we'd just be waiting for the phone to ring. He was at Darlington, and you'd just be waiting for the phone to ring. And every time the phone rings, you'd be like, hello? And I'd be like, oh, hi, Sam, it's like Steve, like a mate. I'd be like, don't ring me. You know I'm waiting. You know I'm waiting for a call.
Horrible.
And you'd be waiting for phone calls, and then you would get a phone call. I had loads. This getting like Peterborough, like Mark Wright rang me. Come to Peterborough. I want to have a chat with you. Would like to sign you and stuff. You'd go, brilliant, no problem. So you'd drive down to Peterborough. You'd meet the manager, and especially when it got to League Two or League One, even League One, they'd have all the big spiel about like, this is what we won for the season. This is how we see you fitting in. We see you playing like left wing and a 4-3-3 and all that. But all you're thinking is, I need to know, like, what's the money?
Yeah.
What am I going to get paid? Because you pretend that you're not interested, but it's more than ever. If you're in League One and League Two, you need to know what you're getting paid.
Especially if you're moving as well.
Yeah, and you just go, I need to know I'm getting paid. So I remember Peterborough, I was like, brilliant, yeah, great, yeah, all left side, yeah, fantastic, left wing, 4-3. I'd be like, yep. Like, so what's the money? And he's like, budget's really tight. I was like, is there any manager who hasn't started off the money talks? Budget's really tight. It's like, okay then. And he's like, it's going to be like £600 a week. And I'm like, right. There's no way I can move to Peterborough for £600 a week. Like, no offence, how can I possibly do that? Like, I've got a child, got a wife. Ridiculous. Like, you should have just told me that, because I've driven down to Peterborough. You've took me around the whole ground. We've spent 3 hours telling me about where
Cost
you're
you 50 quid in
fuel. You've showed me on 50 quid in petrol. Stopped off on the way down, haven't I, and got a meal deal from M&S. Yeah. And then he showed me on there. I was thinking, like, but you're not allowed to say it, are you? You don't say it like now. I just go, right, that's brilliant. Before I come down there, what are we looking like at ballpark figures for wages?
But this is like, I know we've had this conversation and we've got different points of view on it. Like for me, I went to Canvin, had a 2-year deal there, then I had a 3-year deal at Shrewsbury. Then when I left Shrewsbury, it was I went to Grays, and at the time you'd know that Grays were in the conference, and I signed a 3-year deal there. But I lasted probably 8 months at Grays. I literally got sold down a mate of mine, Lee Boylan, was there, and I called him and went, "What's it like?" Obviously, they'd come in, and at the time I'd had like Bury, Macclesfield, Notts County, Barnet, Aldershot, and they were all wanting to take me from Shrewsbury, but Grays had come in, and the truth is, it was just an incredible deal. 3-year deal, financially it was brilliant, and it was back in Essex. So I just romanticised about it and thought, right, it just sounds perfect. Went there. There was a couple of things that happened that sort of really were red flags, but I just ignored them because I'd had my mindset on it. And then literally, it was so poor. It was the facilities were terrible. The club was run poor. It was just amateur. The whole thing was amateur. And I came back that day, and I'd actually had to move. I'd rented the house out in Shrewsbury and had to move back into my mum's, just to obviously see what was going to happen. And she was like, "How'd you get on?" Yeah, it was all right, yeah. And she went, "You hate it, don't you?" I went, "Oh, I don't know, what have I done here? What have I done?" So then lasted 8 months. And like that was times when you're playing 11v11s and I'm like the 24th player. Like even if there's an injury, I'm not going to get on. You know, it was like horrendous. Like everything I tried just went from bad to worse, and the club, and I hated the whole time there. But then when I came out of there, obviously I'm going back to Macclesfield. I'm going back to Bury, Notts County, Barnet, all of them, and I'm going, I'm available now. Like if you want me now, and I'd managed to get myself out of Grays and sort out a deal to come away from them, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't need you now."
Yeah, because they've gone and bought someone else.
Yeah. So they've gone somewhere else. So then I thought, right, I'll go and speak to Barnet. So Paul Fairclough was also the manager of the non-league side. So Barnet are now in League Two. So I sort of had a conversation with Macclesfield, and again, financially, it was like Chris Casper was not Macclesfield. Chris Casper was Bury. Spoke to Chris Casper, and he was like, "Look, it's going to be 650 quid." I was like, "Gonna have to move to sort of Manchester way, Chris." Like, and then I'd gone to speak to Paul Fairclough, and he was like, he loved me, absolutely loved me, Paul Fairclough, and picked me for the England side. And he was like, and I was so optimistic. And as I was in the car park, Paul was walking towards me, and Kev Wilkin, who was the manager at Nuneaton at the time, he phoned me. So I went, "All right, Kev." And obviously I'd played and been on loan at Nuneaton and bits and pieces. And I went, "Mate, I'm just at Barnet, I'm just in a car park, and Paul's walking right towards me." He went, "Oh, you're not going to call me back, are you?" I went, "Oh, no, mate, honestly, I promise I'll call you back." So he went, "No problem." So I went into Paul, and I was like, "Right, Paul, what are we looking at?" He went, "Listen, we'll give you 400 quid until Christmas." And I went, "Paul, you're asking me to travel to the most affluent part of the country from Essex, or live in the most affluent part of the country for 400 quid. And because I'd gone on such a good deal to Grays, the assumption was I'd been paid up a lot of money, so they didn't have to pay me a lot. So we'll pay you to the end of the year. You'll be all right. You've obviously sorted yourself out." So I was like, I came out of there really disappointed. And then I thought, on the way back, I'll give Kev Wilkin a call. And he went, "All right, mate." I went, "Yeah." I went, "How are you?" I went, "Yeah, good." He went, "Go on then." I went, "Well, just obviously I've had a good chat with Paul and it's gone really well. He's thrown the book at me, to be fair, mate. So, yeah, and I've got Macclesfield. Bury won't leave me alone. Aldershot, Notts County won't leave me alone." And I'm thinking they won't even return my calls. And and he went,
Notts County on about 10 grand a week.
What we're looking at? I went, "Well, I'm going to have to move back up there, mate." And he went, "Did you keep the house?" I went, "No, I didn't keep the house. I'm going to have to move again." He's gone, "Would you do it?" I went, "Yeah, I'd love to go back to Shrewsbury. Loved the place and, killed it really." He went, "What are we looking at?" I went, "I'm going to need at least £1,000, Kev. I'm going to need at least £1,000. And he's like, "Right, how long?" I was like, 2 years. "I'm going to need a signing on fee, mate. I'm going to," and literally, obviously, didn't quite get that, but I literally threw the book at it, and he phoned me back. He went, "Yeah, you got a deal." So then I was like, I had a couple of deals in League Two conference, and at the time, Nuneaton were in the north. So again, on the way back, I phoned at Loughborough University, so I got accepted there, and then going there is like literally, it's like a full-time job when you attend Loughborough. It's like they want you to train all day. It's a nightmare. So I phoned Shrewsbury College, and they were like, "Yeah, we can't get you on because you haven't done any education since you left school. You've only got your GCSE. So really," so I was like, like Tony Laws was the guy. So, that's a kick in the nads. I went, "I just would have thought my GMVQ would have sorted me out." He went, "You've got a GMVQ?" I went, "Yeah." I said, "But we used to just copy it and all that." He went, "But you've got it though?" I went, Yeah. He said, "Oh, that'll get you in, no problem." So then I'd made the decision, right, I can get a 2-year deal at Nuneaton on decent money for part-time, or I can go full-time for half the money and I can start working towards something different. And I know we've had conversation. I was 29 then, so I just thought I'd cut my losses.
Yeah. It's a game though, isn't it? Like the managers play a game with you. Like, I mean, I don't know whether you would have had your agent, Dave, wouldn't you? And I had an agent at various bits, but like I did a lot of time I did it myself. And they're playing, like the manager telling you straight away, the manager's going, oof, I've got no budget. So when I signed for Northampton, John Gorman was the manager, brilliant bloke, loved him. And he's like, Sam, we can
Budget's tight.
yeah. At least he said it at the start.
Yeah. We can offer you appearance money, but you only get appearance money if you win. Like club policy, that's what we do. So it's only get appearance money if you win. So I'm like,
isn't that a win bonus?
I'm like, all right then, yeah. I get that. Like, so that's fine. It's club policy, Sam. No one gets it. So anyway, Andy Holt, my good mate, signs at the same time. Afterwards, I'm like, that's a nightmare, isn't it? That's a nightmare. That with the appearance money. He went, yeah, they said that to me, but I was like, no, you don't. So I've got that. So I get the appearance money even if we lose. I was like, oh, for goodness sake! Because they're all playing the game, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're all playing the game. Like,
I'll laugh at that one that you said about flipping, who is it? The assistant at Shrewsbury.
At Shrewsbury, Dave Cook.
Yeah,
Like,
Cookie when he done. Yeah.
I was like, we're talking about buying a house and that. He's like, I'll help you with that. I'll sort that. Once I'd signed, he was like, I was like, mate, you're gonna help me with a house? He was like, I don't know anything about houses.
Is the ink dry?
Yeah, that's what they do.
You'll know it being a manager though, Gav. Now that obviously their job is to get you for as cheap as possible. You want to try and get as much budget as you can.
I've got a different theory.
Oh, hold on.
So, like, for me, I recruit quite strategically. So I'll recruit what is essentially 18 players for 18 players for 16 positions, right? So they all have to be able to be versatile within this sort of little regime that I have. My thing is, right, the more you pay a player, the more you can ask of him. So if you're trying to get him on the cheap, if you've got the money in the budget, why would you try and get him on the cheap? Now, I get it. At early doors, if you're signing players, your first 5 players, if they're all asking for an extra £100, then obviously it's going to cut your... So I know what I won't go over. I know I won't go over. But there has been times where I've gone, look, like, we can get to this. So I don't know what you want, but we can get to this. If you can't do it, I appreciate it. But equally, we won't go anymore. So I'm just putting it out there.
But do you not want to go back to, it's not the business manager, is it? You have like the finance officer and you say, I've managed to get him for that. So you've got your budget. If you've got your budget and you've got 3 forwards and you've got whatever you've got, you go, if I can get him for this money and I've made £200 on there, I'm sure that's what you do.
But equally, it's about that player. So what he's coming with, if he's out of my budget, I'll just tell him straight away. I'll just say, look, there's no negotiation. This is what I've got in place.
When you say it's the maximum, though, do you really mean the maximum?
No, genuinely. And then what might happen is sometimes you're negotiating.
Gav's got it. Gav's saying all this, isn't he?
Yeah,
just for when
his players are listening.
When he tries to sign someone.
But then what might happen is, as you're negotiating with that one might come in, and it might not be as much as what you'd have thought. So then you might be able to go back and go, well, actually, I can give you a little bit more because I've negotiated here. So I see it as like the more you can pay your players, the more you can ask of them. So as a manager, like I get given a budget, so a total. So I know what I can and can't go over. So I might go to the board and say, look, is there anything left in the coffers? Can we go one more player? And invariably, certainly at the start of the season, it's not. But it's a different way of looking at it. But my thing is, it's like, look, I've been given a budget. If I come in £500 then under, then it's great. But ultimately, I know what I can get to. So I'll just try and go as much as I can for that player.
It's like, I bet Grimsby, I had this at Grimsby. I was going to sign for Grimsby. And the manager actually said to me, can you say this? So we're going to have like playing this game before the finance bloke came into the meeting, because he was trying to play a game to show the finance person that he'd knocked me down. But he'd spoken to me beforehand. I don't know whether I say who it is or not.
Yeah.
But so I was going to sign for Grimsby, but then I pulled out at the end. And he said, can you say, Sam, we can go to this, but you're going to ask for that, and I'm going in front of him, knock you down to this, so we're all happy.
Because the manager wants...
Okay, then, as long as I get
as a manager, you want the player. You know, like you say, you've given your budget.
Yeah.
So
he wanted to look good as well too.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, you can play them, but like transparency for me. And I've had players where they've come in and they've gone, so you're not willing to go any more than that. And I'm like, listen...
Yeah, the players
there's no negotiation. They try. No, of course not. But they try and call you bluff. So it makes where sometimes you go around the houses. Mine are really quick because I'll go, look, this is what we can do. I think you're worth it. It's in our budget. But listen, there's no negotiation. If you can't get to that, I really respect it and really appreciate it. So we're done. And then they've gone, well, yeah, I'm going to need a bit more. I go, listen, no problem. Like, thanks for your time. And they sort of look at you and the rabbit in the headlights and they go, oh, so I literally go into every room and negotiating with a player knowing, going balls deep and knowing what I can and can't do.
They're particularly at your level, though, Gav. Like, it's money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can talk about the ambitions of the club, but ultimately they're going, right, can you pay me? Can you better my wage than what I'm getting now in the conference?
But now as well,
they're going to be interested.
At our level as well, it's like at the moment at Brackley, we have I suppose a competitive budget, but we are part-time, and then we're almost playing a little bit of catch up with things such as analysis, things such as GPS, all of that, which are in place, all on the way. Like, it was brilliant. We're really making headway off the pitch. It's been fantastic. But there's clubs at our level now that I've literally got 4 or 5 people sat around the ground, earpieces, talking into the manager. Like, it's the Conference North and Conference South are now the old conference from when me and you played in it, Sam. Whereas back then, it's like, now that's become like the 5th league. That's full on full time. That's You play in it standard. You played that standard.
In 1 year, and got promoted.
You played conference standard in League Two.
Sorry, going back to what you were saying about when the striker looks you in the eye and is like, is that it then?
Yeah.
And then that's a horrible feeling there as a player. Like, I've had it a couple of times where you kind of almost don't know whether to dig your feet in and say, oh, fine, then we'll leave it. For your negotiating, and that's all we got. And then you kind of say, okay, it's fine, I'll leave it then. I remember the very first contract I signed at Shrewsbury, I had that. They offered me, Jimmy Quinn offered me £150 a week. I was like 17, only just in and around the first team, played a couple of times. And I was like, oh, I thought I was going to get like 250 or something like that. So I was like, I'll have to think about it. And I kind of went back the next day. And I was
Zero other options.
And I was like, And I was like, in my head, I was thinking, I'll happily stay on I was on 45 quid a week. I'll happily stay on that for another year, knowing I'll get more after. Yeah. But then I went back and it says, I think I'm going to leave it, unless we can get to sort of like 170 or something like that. And he's like, nah, it's 150. Are you back with the kids? I was like, what do you mean? So he's like, go back in the youth team then. And I was like, oh, okay. I remember speaking to Nigel Vaughan, the youth team manager, and he was just like, you're going to have to sign it. Just sign it. Forget about the money. And it's like 20 quid. And he was like, no, you just got to do it. And then obviously, then you can stay training the first team. Always wondered if he'd have just bombed me off completely, but I had the fear in me.
But that's the thing. Like, for me, I'll sit in front of a player and I'll say, this is what we can do. And if they go, well, I'm going to need more, I go, listen, totally understand. Good luck. And they literally look at you and go, oh, shit. Yeah. Do you remember that time when Gary Peters pulled me in and absolutely annihilated me because of Neil Ashton?
Oh, yeah. What was it again? I got the blame for something, didn't I?
Yeah.
For something I was never involved in.
You tell him what I think I had to. Something.
So Ashley pulled me and said, "Oh, mate,
this is Neil Ashton."
Yeah, Neil Ashton. So he went.
For Shrewsbury.
So I'd signed at Shrewsbury on a decent deal. So I'd signed 3 years. It was decent money. But Ashley was on buttons. He'd come from Tranmere, signed on, like, just wanted to play games. Credit to him. And he basically pulled me after training and went, "Mate, can I have a quick word?" I went, "Yeah, mate, of course." I mean, he's a Scouser. I can't even believe what I was thinking. And he went, "Mate, totally confidential, like, just between me and you. What are you on?" And I went, "Oh, I'm not really comfortable saying, Ashley, to be honest. I think everybody's just got to worry about themselves." He went, "Oh, I just need a bit of a ballpark figure because they're putting it on me. I'm signing a new contract and I need to know a sort of ballpark."
Ballpark of what they get.
So I went, mate, it's literally... Like, I'm quite private like that. So I'm like, look, it's got to be between me and you. And he's going, "Come on, laugh." And I'm thinking, he's spitting all over me. Right, I'm going to have to just deal with it. So I told him and I went, "Promise?" He went, "Promise." I thought, brilliant. Didn't think anything of it. So then we played at the weekend and I played really well. And I thought, Gary Peters has gone, someone came in because I'm getting a rub in the treatment room. Someone went, "The gaffer wants to see you upstairs in his office," because we'd gone back to the ground. So I thought, brilliant. Probably new contract, or, he's going to some sort of praise or something. Yeah. Went in there, he's absolutely torn strips off me. Like, forget the hairdryer. I'm talking blowtorch. He's gone for me.
With you for telling Ash.
So, because what Ashley's done, Ashley's obviously gone in with his agent and gone, "Well, Gav Cowan's on this," and Gav Cowan's not playing a lot at the moment. So Ashley was playing every week.
I had the same agent as Ashley.
And what had happened
I got muddled into this summer.
Yeah, I remember how. Then everybody's on the gaffer's door. Hold on a minute, Gav Cowan's getting this. I would double that. I'm top scorer.
No, luckily it didn't get to that. But basically, me and Dave had been asked to go out and do a presentation for some kids. Yeah. I think it was Much Wenlock. I remember going up the hill. So me and Dave are driving down, like, literally nothing said, just having a conversation. I think we had a couple of beers, didn't we? And come back. And Gary Peters, like, I know what's happened. You and Dave have been talking about it on the way to that presentation. You've told Dave, he's told Ashley, they've got the same agent, and that's it. And I'm like going, look, wow. And I managed just to sort of go, Gaffer, look, I wouldn't tell anyone. It's private. I haven't told anyone. And luckily, he sort of came back to me and he didn't apologise. He's not that type of guy.
He pulled me into his office to ask me.
Yeah.
And I was like, before you even told me any of this, he pulled me in and said, "Has Gav Cam been telling you what he's on?" And I was like,
also,
"No."
like now, if someone said that to me now, I turn around and say, "Yeah, I did tell him what I'm on because that is what I'm on.
Yeah,
I'm not made it up.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just told him what I'm getting paid."
But he's a bit of a bully like that, Gary.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Whereas now I'd go, well, yeah, what's got to do with you?
That's what I am on. I'm being honest. So you're being disingenuous by saying to Ashley that no one's on that.
But Ashley absolutely killed me, and I went to him. I went, mate, what are you doing? He went, oh, it wasn't me, it was my agent. My agent's, because the agent literally walked in and killed me. Yeah, he pulled my pants down.
You know what always makes me laugh when the players sign? Like, I mean, I was the worst for this. So, like, you do your interview, like, you sign for Tranmere. Why have you chosen Tranmere, Sam? And I'd be like, well, I've always been a Tranmere fan. I remember this, I've always been they've always been my second team, Northampton, when you sign for. And you just want to go, well, basically, they offered me the most money, or I was injured last season and the only club that rang me. But yeah, you can't say that.
I'd love someone to say
Everybody
that.
does it all. Yeah, but no one ever will it?
No,
Anybody plays the game, it's like, why? You know, like all this lads who just signed for Shrewsbury. We have a look at their interviews. Well, I've always admired the way Shrewsbury Town play, and I've been here regularly with my partner, and we love their setup. You know, no.
Yeah. It's funny, we got a picture of you in a Wrexham shirt when you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Just before we finish show, I've just done a little bit of research, as I always do.
So we veered off Rejections there a little bit, weren't we?
We went off Rejections to money, but I think a lot of people are interested in that money. I just wanted to run
This could
through.
go anyway if it's your research.
So, some Rejections, just a little bit of comforting. If anybody's got kids who've been rejected from clubs, academies, trials, whatever. Marcus Rashford had trial for Man City, age 9. Obviously didn't get picked, went to Man United. Harry Kane had a trial at Arsenal. Arsene Wenger didn't have him, didn't want him.
Wow.
I'm going to come back to these two because they're my two favourites. Chelsea gave Mbappe a trial apparently. Didn't think he was good enough.
Wasn't quick enough.
Yeah, too slow.
This is a good one with Declan Rice released from Chelsea at 14.
Oh yeah, we've seen a lot of that recently.
That's brilliant. How great is that though? I'm thinking for my boy who's 13 now.
Yeah.
Like
He's just been bought for 105 million, hasn't he?
Exactly.
Quality, innit?
That's good. Ryan Barnett getting released from Shrewsbury.
Stick the knife in, Sam. Stick the knife in.
He's in Vegas with Magnum and champagne celebrating.
Got his arm round Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. Yaya Toure. Right now, someone can fact check if they want, but if you like, don't bother.
Yeah.
Is it Yaya or Cola?
Don't. Yaya Toure, 20 years of age. Apparently played for Arsenal in a friendly against Barrow, and Arsenal didn't want him. That's
mad,
absolute
isn't it?
fact there.
That's mad, isn't it?
Fact, essayist in
And that's-
2023, fact.
That is like, again, when you're speaking to parents and you're talking about their kids, if they are getting rejected, one, it's not the end of the world. Two, it's brilliant to face adversity and overcome it. But when you've got stuff like that, you can't be disheartened, can you?
I got a couple of good ones as well.
So can I still be best one first? It's the best one.
Do we build up to that? Actually,
Cav Cam
It's
released
not that good. I've built up too much now. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not amazing. It's not amazing.
Go on then.
Zidane went on trial at Blackburn. And Jack Walker was the Blackburn. This is true.
This can't
true.
be
Look
true.
this up. Can anybody look that up?
I'm not
And Jack
having
Walker apparently said to
He was
whoever
the chairman,
Blackburn
wasn't he?
manager was. He was the chairman or the owner. Why would you want Zidane when we have Tim Sherwood and didn't sign him?
Some player, Tim Sherwood, though,
Sherwood's
wasn't he?
good though. wasn't he? He's good.
He was decent.
He was decent. He was decent. Come on then.
Andy Robertson, released by Celtic as a kid.
Was he?
Yeah, and then he went and played for. Who did he go to? He played like third division. The Queen. No, before that he played like third division in Scotland. Like,
Did he?
anyone know Queen of the South? No, was there Queen of the South?
Inverness of the
That's
South.
the importance of doing research. I've just named 9 and he could tell you the background to all of them.
So Andy Robertson, released by Celtic as a
Yeah.
15-year-old,
Good one, that.
16-year-old, and then obviously they would love him
Yeah.
now, wouldn't they? Champions League winner.
Ian Wright was a good one, wasn't he? He got released by quite a few clubs, didn't
Yeah.
he, before?
Jamie Vardy,
Yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday, I think he got released by.
It's good. It's good for people to hear that, isn't it? Just being released is not the end of the road.
There are countless lads I've played with in non-league that I've played with and then they've gone on, been successful, gone on a run and got taken into the league League Two, League One, Championship, Premier League. Loads of them. Loads of them.
But what I would also say is probably this is for another podcast. You know, you can also safeguard yourself, can't you? By if you know you will get rejections and you might get released and your career might finish at 15, 16, 19, 20. But I'd also say don't necessarily put all your eggs in one basket.
No, definitely
Like
not.
try and do something else, whether or not it's like like Gav, you started a business, didn't you? And Dave, you started investing stuff. I started trying to get work on education and get skilled. We've all tried to do something along the lines because you know how fragile the footballing world is.
Yeah.
So it's yes, you give everything to the football, but you've got enough time on your hands as a footballer to try and get a backup plan.
I think the one thing with rejection as well, it's going to happen to everyone, but never let it be for your attitude or your work rate. That should be an absolute
Brilliant, Dave.
non-negotiable.
Spot
It can
on.
happen for various different things, but never attitude, work ethic.
But and also as well, it stands you in good stead for whatever job you're in later on.
definitely.
So for me, you know, you're going to go for job interviews and things, you might not get the job. But if you're used to rejection, or you've had plenty of rejections, or you've had criticism, you can cope with it better, and you know it's not the end.
Yeah.
And you should be going for things. Is that like me and Gav all the time? Feel the fear and do it anyway. Like have a go. Who was it who said to me? I was going to say someone said to me, Gav, they've never gone for someone. I've never gone for a job and not got it. And I was like, flipping heck. Why don't you go for the head of CEO of Apple then? Instead of doing the job you're doing now. Don't know. I've never gone for a job and not got it. Well,
Set your sights a bit higher.
Yeah, you need to set your sights a little bit higher then, don't you?
I think, like, for
Go
me,
for it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Own it if you don't get it as well.
Embrace it.
this is like my outlook on it is as well, having the bravery and courage to stick your neck out there and to get
Yeah,
rejected
exactly.
and to know that there's only so
As
many
a football
times.
manager, mate, there's no one better
Yeah.
to go for a football manager's job in that because it's inevitable. Like I
Yeah,
said before.
and hopefully it's inevitable that we go on, be successful and move on, and then you might get rejection there, and then you might get another opportunity. And like, I'm really thankful to get the opportunity at Brackley, but really having had to deal with what we dealt with at Telford, it was like such a slog with such minimal resources and finances and behind the scenes and all of that. Actually, then when you go to Brackley, it's almost like, do I want to go for all that again?
Yeah,
and then,
exactly. Get
but then,
yourself back on it.
like you say, like we've lost last weekend in the FA Cup, and it's in like typical FA Cup manner as well. And you do find yourself going, oh, fuck, like, because things have been going so well. But this is where you find out about yourself. This is where you find out about the people around you. We find out about your family, your people, and how resilient you're going to be. And yeah, all right, was I a little bit
Did I
late?
text you?
You did.
I did.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, you did.
I always text him when he wins.
I put my shoelaces down when you text. But yeah, Saturday night, horrendous. Obviously, Sunday, you have that lull, achy feeling. And then, as I've always said, Monday morning, you've got no alternative. You've got to be back to it. You've got to get back on the horse, and you've got to go again.
Yeah. But putting yourself out your comfort zone is...
Massively.
I think we've all done that.
Yeah, and football
Post-football
management,
in different
there
things.
can't be many ways of doing it in football management.
Took yourself out of your comfort zone by doing this on a Monday night.
Yeah.
That's out of your comfort
You
zone.
take yourself out your marriage as well if you're not careful.
Right, we're going a bit off topic now. We've done rejections and money, but I think it's been quite interesting. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I think people like hearing about football and money, isn't it? Because especially in football, it's a bit of an unspoken rule. They're not allowed. I mean, we've mentioned this before. You're not allowed to talk about money. Whereas, of course, it's massive.
Yeah.
And
Even in the dressing room, it's just not spoken
yeah, it's
about
never
at
spoke.
all.
Never
Not
ever
at all.
speak about it.
Unless
do you?
Ashley's on your case.
Yeah, unless you're Neil Ashton.
Unless it's Gav Cowan and Neil Ashton.
You promise you won't say anything. I promise, mate. And then
Promise,
literally,
yeah.
you got absolutely annihilated. And then when I spoke to him about it as well, he thought it was hilarious. Obviously, years later, when I reminded him, he
It's
thought
funny
it was...
now, isn't it? But also as well, like you were being honest, isn't it? Like trying to help your mate. Right, enjoyed that, Dave.
Yeah, well, talk about rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
What
Exactly.
came out of
No,
it
no,
again,
of course, yeah.
I'm ready to go and take on the world again now.
yeah, embrace
Yeah.
it. You're gonna get rejected. Go for it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. You might not get stuff.
Yeah.
Fine.
Get rejected,
Crack on.
get back up, go again. Brilliant.
Love that.
And the rejections never stop, so
Yeah.
may as well learn how to deal with them.
In order to be comfortable, seek the uncomfortable. Bang.
Oh, I
Let's
love
finish
that.
it.
Why don't we instead of doing we
Philosophy.
should do in the Stiffs life coaching. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Like a little
We just got to get a life first.
I like to think I'm a little bit of a life coach as it is.
Yeah, I
So
know.
If you two want to get involved with me, a little business.
Yeah.
What should we call it? Easton and Co life coaching.
Easton and friends.
Easton and friends. Easton and friends. That's it, friends. That's a bit strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Easton and Colley's life coaching.
Yeah. We'll do
Right.
that.
Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks for listening. You can find us on
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, @In the Stiffs. In the Stiffs @gmail.com.
Subscribe to our YouTube.
Yeah.
Please.
If you want to see Sam's shirt, subscribe to YouTube.
Probably do, yeah. Probably. That'll get me a little sponsorship deal with, what is it? C&A.
Yes. Yes, yeah, remember that.
C&A.
Get on YouTube, see how Dave's been
YouTube,
working out, see Sam's shirt and see my little Ron Burgundy number.
Shout out to C&A as well. I'm available for options. I've got no current clothing sponsorship deal at this moment in time. So C&A if you're interested.
Quality.
Send me a message. Right, thanks very much, everybody. Thanks to our sponsors, Budgym. Have a good week, everybody. Bye for now.
See you soon.
See ya.